Hi everyone, happy Sunday, and welcome to this week's Sunday School Come Follow Me message. This week, the Come Follow Me reading was Alma, chapter 32 through 35. And we see Alma and Amulek in this chapter. They're teaching the Zoramites principally about prayer, because that was one thing they noticed right away the Zoramites were having a difficult time with. And one thing that was really powerful for me this week was to compare and contrast the Zoramite beliefs about prayer, or their customs about prayer, with what Alma and Amulek then taught them about prayer. Now, they were mostly teaching the people who had been cast out of the synagogues, which is significant because one of their major beliefs was that in order to pray, in order to worship God, you had to be in the synagogue or in the church. And we see that in Alma chapter 31, verses 13 through 23, which technically I believe was from last week, but it does apply to some verses and some takeaways from this week. And again, so we see that they believe they had to be in the center of their synagogue. So not only did they have to be in the church in order to worship, but it had to be very public, in the center where everyone was able to potentially watch them and hear what they were saying. The top thereof of their tower would only admit one person, and so only one person could really go and pray and worship at a time. That was another of their beliefs. They would cry with a loud voice, so they were very obvious and clear to others what they were praying about. And not only that, they always prayed the same thing. They prayed that they believed that there would be no Christ. They believed that they were better than the other people, and they were chosen of God because they were better, because God loved them and cared about them more than any of the other people. And then once they finished praying and worshiping, they never spoke of God again until they had assembled together again the next time to pray. And obviously there are a lot of things wrong with this, and there are a lot of contradictions between their customs of prayer and what Alma and Amulek taught them and what we believe today about prayer. And this is the part that comes from this week's reading. In Alma chapters 33 and 34, Alma and then Amulek are teaching them about prayer and kind of a more healthy attitude about prayer to encourage a better relationship with God. Alma starts out by saying, "If you do suppose that you cannot worship God because you're cast out of your synagogues, you do greatly err." And he quoted Zenos and Zenock, saying that they had prayed in lots of different places. They prayed out in the wilderness, and Zenos specifically said, "Thou art merciful, O God, for thou hast heard my prayer, even when I was in the wilderness." And even when I was not in the church, not in the synagogue, not in public, you heard me pray and you heard me ask for specific things that I needed. And Amulek then goes and supports Alma in his teaching. And he says in several verses, "Cry unto him in your fields, in your houses, over the crops of your fields, over the flocks of your fields. You must pour out your souls in your closets and your secret places and in your wilderness." And so Amulek is supporting Alma here in the teaching and in the doctrine that you can pray anywhere, and you can pray for anything that's important to you. And I think this is especially applicable to us these days, because it is great and it is fortunate that we're able to go to church every other week, but on the weeks when we're not able to, it's good for us to remember that we can worship and we can pray at home, and we can still have a great relationship with God from home. And we should try to not pray like the Zoramites were, but pray more like how Alma and Amulek were teaching. That we pray in any place, we pray in private, at home, with our families, and we pray for things that are important to us. We pray for things specifically that we may need during this time. And